Okay, we're live? Yeah, we're live. Gosh, I almost forgot how to do this. I think Charles is freezing again. Right, Charles?
Yeah, he's frozen.
All right, while he's figuring that out, I think Charles is in what? Texas right now? Is that what he told us?
Yep.
All right, while he's doing that, let me just, open up the data sheets right here. Charles, are you back?
I am not.
Oh my god, look at that view
Oh, you
you're
mean am I
at.
back? Yes.
That's not AI, right? That's a real background.
Okay.
Okay, where is hopefully everybody's doing okay. Happy Saturday. We're just gonna kick things off. We are on the clock, running a little behind schedule. Got a lot going on, but it is good to be back with the crew.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
morning,
How you guys
Chichi.
been? Lisa, Charles, how you guys been?
We've been good. We've been good. And
We've
we've
been
all
good.
been
Definitely
busy.
been good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Charles been very busy. I could see that too. He's out having vacation. He's making time to come live right now.
It's
Okay,
been
let me
so
just
long. I gotta connect with my peeps.
it's been so long. It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Yeah, let me just do something real quick. Okay. All right, let me just go over the data and then we can talk about today's topic. I've been getting people asking me about this too, Lisa, when you shared
Yeah.
it. And then people's been calling me about the changes and all that. So I'm glad you brought it up. So now we can kind of talk about it. But let me just go over the market right now, how everything's looking. Okay. Man, look at that inventory chart. Inventory is up 0.9%. New listings is up. Actually, never mind. New listings are down 7%. Sold homes are down 30% from last week. Pending homes up 6%. And from last month, inventory is up this month by 6.5%. New listings are up 1.5%. Sold homes are up 6.4% from last month. Okay. Starting to pick up. Pending homes are down. Same time last year. Of course, this year inventory is higher by 46%. New listings are up 4%. Sold homes are down 1%, and pending homes are down 3%. You guys feel it? Lisa, Charles, inventory being 46% more. You guys feel it?
Well, but yeah.
Um, for me, you guys would know more before I do, right? Because you guys are in the on the front line and everything. I do see that the market in general is just down a little bit.
Yeah. I feel it too, and with the inventory being the way it is, the buying pool is still pretty similar, right? It hasn't really changed much. And it's ooh, that's a lot of wind. I'm gonna mute you for a second, okay, Charles? There you go. I felt that nature breeze, even though I wasn't there with you. Yeah. I do notice, the whole market right now is a little bit
It's shifting.
it's shifting. For sure. It is
Well,
shifting.
let's
It's
say,
being
yeah,
more
it's
stabilized.
yeah, it's been shifting, but we're feeling it more now.
We're feeling it a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buyers are kind of, taking their times because rates haven't really been that much in their favor.
No.
Price there has been a lot of price reductions though.
Yeah.
We're gonna show that right now. But yeah, I do feel it. I do feel it.
Chia, since you're seeing the price reductions, do you feel like sellers are still kind of like stuck in that situation of the market right before this happened, right before this year, right? They're still stuck on last year, the year before pricing.
Yeah, sellers are still. Yeah, which sellers are the one that still feel that way
Yeah.
because their homes are the one that's on the market for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Like over 30 plus days, few months. The homes that are going quick are the ones that are pricing it right, and
Right.
we'll go over that in a bit. But yeah, I do see that.
Right. I mean, regularly before, I would say the last decade, really, normal is 30 to 60 days for a home to sell. That's normal, but we
Mhm.
have been in a very,
They've been conditioned.
yeah, they've been conditioned to a different market. So now it's like that doesn't seem
7
normal.
days, 14
Yep.
days,
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
20 days. So yeah, it's gonna be a while before those sellers starts realizing, oh man, the market's
Yeah.
not how it used to be, So who
Right.
knows how long that's gonna take, But yep, I do see that.
Well,
Average
and I
price
think the
per
savvy.
square foot. Go ahead, Charles.
I was going to say, I think the savvy agents are going to be making sure that they let their clients know, hey, this is not, this is what's been happening isn't normal. Yes, you can say there's a new normal, but there isn't. I
Yeah.
Well,
mean,
with
this has just been
AI
the
and
way
with
things
all this
standard normally
data that's
are.
out there, you're cutting in and out, Charles. But with AI and all this information that's out there right now, I think a lot of sellers feel like um their homes are gonna sell, and again, they're preconditioned to what the market was like just beginning of this year and this last year, right? So
Right.
because of that, those sellers that are coming into the market now that are conditioned that way, they feel like they missed. They don't want to admit that they missed out, basically, right? They don't want to admit that they missed out, so they're conditioned to that, and that's what's making their home stick. And even though the savvy agents out there are letting their clients know that, hey, the market's shifted, they should price their home correctly to get any action or offers coming in, or even people to want to come and look at their homes, sellers are still stuck on that. If a seller is preconditioned on that and they're stuck on that, they're gonna take their home off the market. They're gonna bite the bullet, probably put their home up for rent, or
Yeah.
just wait. And we see that, so it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Because the hard part too is the sellers right now, they have so much equity, right? They have
Yeah.
so much equity, so that's giving them a lot of that confidence. And I think until it starts eating into that equity more to where they're like, oh man, I'd rather just lose 10K right now versus 50K in like 3-4 months. Until they get that realization, they're not going to shift their mindset. They're still pretty conditioned, which is very, unfortunate. But,
Yeah.
you know,
It's gonna take some time, right, Chia?
honestly,
It's gonna take some
yeah,
time.
it does take time. And honestly, right now, like to any sellers out there that
Yeah.
their home is not selling, they're not getting any action, I would say you just gotta trust your agent. They're not lying to you because they see data like this all the time and they know what's gonna sell and what's not. And if you don't trust your agent, then it's gonna be an uphill battle. That's what
Right.
I would say.
Well, I think
Most
you know,
definitely.
peppering your house, making sure you have all of everything taken care of ahead of time is is crucial, especially in this market. Wouldn't you say, Chia? A lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to spend money on staging. I don't want to spend money on X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, you're leaving money on the table. This is where you're really stepping over dollars just to save a few pennies.
Yep. Yeah, because you're spending a few $1,000s to make your home show really well.
Right.
Yes, it might seem like up front that's a lot of money, but like what Lisa said, you're stepping over dollars to pick up those chump change. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a few $1,000s to get your home prep, but that's gonna make a lot of people want to come see your homes. And with a lot of people that come see your home, there's gonna be offers. And then with offers, your homes are gonna sell quicker. Because yeah,
Absolutely.
you're eating that cost now, but you're gonna get your home sold under the month, versus if you didn't do all those things, it might take you 3 to 4 months to get your home sold, so it makes a difference. Because remember, every month that goes by, you're still paying for utilities, you're still paying for your mortgage and interest, all of that. So is it feasible for you to like waste that time while the market is shifting? Okay, and we're going into like the winter time soon. People's
Yeah.
already going back to school, and that's gonna eat into the traffic and eventually into the net.
I'm
That's just
curious
the
now.
truth.
I'm curious to see what how many months on the market the houses are.
Let's go over that right now. Okay, so this past week, on average, has been 37 days on the market, right?
Okay.
This last month, 36 days. So this whole month so far versus last month, 6 days difference. But remember though, okay, these are data based off of home that's sold.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's taking that long for you to get into contract, right? Remember, just because you're in contract doesn't mean your home is sold. The buyers are still doing their due diligence. They're ordering inspection, they're calling Charles, they're doing appraisals, and depending how fast all that information comes back, and depending on how long the negotiation goes, there's going to be delays. So add another 30 days to this. So reality is going to be like probably 2 months, and these are people that are pricing their home correctly and all of that. So you have to consider that, because now you're competing against another seller down the street. It's not like how we saw during COVID anymore, to where every buyer was competing against everybody, every other buyer. Right now, it's getting to that point to where sellers are competing against sellers now. Let's look at the price. Active price this week, $693K versus $697 last week. Sold price this week went up almost 6%. And from last month, it's up 2.3%. And look, same time last year, it is up 1.3%. So yes, despite the market shifting, like
Right.
what me and Lisa are saying, prices are still going up.
Right. So not to contradict what we were talking about earlier, right, Chia? It is going up, but it's going up at a much slower pace. So people are thinking, it's like, well, I mean, last year my house was worth, 450,000, so it should be worth 500 this year. No, it's not going to go up fast, right? It might be at the 460 mark right now.
Yep. It hasn't gone up like how we've seen it during COVID, where it was like 5%, 6%, even 8% around there. It's
right.
not even like that no more.
We've seen 11%, we've seen 15%, right, during that time. And if you're still stuck in that mindset, which was like half a decade ago, right, then you are going to fall behind.
Yeah, and if you put your home on the market like right now,
yeah,
and you see comps that sold 6 months ago, that comp is irrelevant already.
Yeah.
It's not even the same comparison anymore, because a appraiser that's going to appraise that property is not going to look at it. Preferably, they prefer like 3 months the most. Anything closer to like right now, like within the last month, is the most accurate comp. Okay, so you guys got to remember that. If you guys see your neighbor sold their home for $500K down the road, and they got the same layout as you, but they sold it last year or 6-7 months ago, you're not gonna. likely you're not gonna get that same comp. And if your home is not updated like theirs, it's not identical when it comes to like remodeling and all that, don't even consider it as a comp, because if your home is outdated but you're comparing it to a home that's fully updated, appraiser's not going to do that. Appraiser's not going to give you that value. They're going to minus and subtract all of that when they come and view your home. So you have to remember this, and you have to like be realistic about the comps.
Yeah.
Again, listen to your realtor when they're comping your home and letting you know what they feel you should price the home at, because they're looking at this data like I'm showing you guys right now, specifically to your zip code, subdivision, and they're going to be able to tell you exactly what the home is worth or what the appraiser is going to appraise it at. Because it doesn't matter what the agents think the home is worth or what the seller or buyer thinks the home is worth. It matters about what the home is going to appraise for. Because 90% of buyers right now in this market are using a loan, so they're going to need an appraisal anyways. And if you get a cash offer, expect lowball offers. Go ahead, Charles.
I was going to say, and then again, it's the same thing again. It's all about who you pick for your realtor. Make sure you make a good decision on an experienced realtor that knows how to actually properly price and comp your house based on the market, based on the upgrades, based on everything. You really got to make sure you do your math and your research on that. Otherwise, you're going to be in a bad situation. And again, your house isn't going to sell properly.
Right.
Yeah, your agent that's being real with you would tell you the truth. That hey, if you're gonna price your home overpriced, it's gonna sit. If an agent right now is over promising you and saying that you're gonna get X amount even though it's not worth X amount, they're lying to you. They just want to get the listing. They're hoping that eventually as it sits, you're gonna reduce it. But if you went into the market with the mindset that, oh, my home's gonna get top dollar, like what I want because my agent said so, then you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. You're going to be disappointed. And then when it doesn't happen, you're going to be upset at that agent. And you're going to be like, all agents are alike. But really, it's because that agent told you misinformation.
Yeah.
Months worth of inventory, 2.5 months. So we've been in the, over the 2 month worth of inventory for like the past 3 months. Okay. It's not anything crazy. Yeah, it's been consistently for the past 3 months. But when it gets more, like between 4, 5, and 6 months worth of inventory consistently, then that's when you're gonna really start noticing that it's definitely just a buyer's market now.
Correct.
Okay. So this is very important, sellers. 2.5 months worth of inventory consistently, like in the 2 month range for the past few months.
Yeah,
it's shifting. Okay,
this is a
market
huge
is shifting.
This is a huge difference only because we've been in less than a month's worth of inventory for such a long time. I mean, we're talking over a decade now already. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For a long time,
Yeah.
So now, just recently, we've been in the 2 month range, consistently for the past 3 months. So it's shifting, guys. And if your home's not selling, you might need to reconsider doing a price update. Let's go over to mortgage. Look at that.
Okay. So it's been a hot minute since we've been back on this show, right? Yeah. Your fixes are at 6.81. And if I remember properly, the last time we were on the show, it was not that much of a difference. You guys seen it up to probably a 7.25. The lowest it's been at is probably 6.25, and that's with excellent equity, more than 40% of equity and things like that. But on this chart, probably no more than 6.625. So it hasn't really fluctuated a whole lot. Every single time I feel like, okay, there's a possibility, my people could be refinancing, but then all of a sudden it pops back up. It doesn't stay for that long. It's going to continue to be this way. I don't see it changing anytime soon. It started to go down just very, very slightly this week, but it already started is starting to come back up. So we're really waiting to see what's going to happen next week.
I am curious, Lisa, if somebody bought a home, let's say just last year, right? And it was like in the sevens. Is it feasible for them to do a refinance into right now's rate?
It really depends. I don't think so. For the most part, I don't see that happening because one, in order for you to get the better rate, you do have to build equity in the house. So for the most part, if you're putting 3 to 5 or 3.5% down, it's going to take a while for it to increase, especially because home prices haven't increased as much this year. Number one.
1%.
And number two, the average home prices for Sacramento is still roughly about 550-ish, which means a quarter or even a 0.5% of a difference. It's not going to make that big of a difference. We're talking maybe about 50 to $100.
Yeah. So what year do you think that for the buyers that bought is feasible to refinance?
So typically in the 1 to 3 year realm is probably the most feasible because again, when you refinance, to make the monthly numbers make sense for you, okay, you're refinancing again in 30 years, right? So you're restarting everything that you paid before. You're kind of restarting those years again. So you have to price it against how much you've already paid, which means how much payments you kind of already lost, okay, versus how much you're actually going to be saving per month. My rule of thumb is if you're not saving at least $200, okay, and if you know you're not you're not sure whether or not you're going to live in this home for the next 5 years, it's probably does not make any financial sense for you to do that. Every case is definitely different. If you need me to price it out for you, I'm more than happy to. But yeah, most of the time it does not make sense to refinance right now. The refinance market is very, very dry right now.
There you go, folks. Because I got somebody that reached out to me the other day that said that they wanted to refinance their home. Like, let's say it prospects around 6% even. Even that from last year it might not still be feasible if they bought their home last year.
Correct. Crunch those numbers with your mortgage professional, guys. Okay, and ask them if your mortgage professional hasn't showed you. Okay, well, how much money have you already put in? Which means you gotta deduct the amount that you've already paid. And when you do that deduction, how long does it take for you to recoup what you've already paid into it? If it still makes sense, great. You know, it might be a good time to refinance. Everybody that I've crunched numbers for so far this year, because especially if you unfortunately listen to a podcast or somebody saying date the rate, marry the house type of situation, and you did that rate buy down, things like that, and you're really hoping for that refinance, and you're feeling the pain of, okay, if I can't refinance and I'm gonna get the rate that it was going to get, one, look at it this way: you had a discount for 3 years, okay, or 2 years, or whatever the amount that it was to buy down, okay. Start saving because the possibility of refinancing may not happen for a while. The rates may not drop down low enough for it to make sense for you.
There you go. Thanks for sharing, Lisa. I just wanted you to kind of give your thoughts on that because I got people calling me about that.
Oh, I get people calling.
That's the market update. Yeah, we could go over it more in detail maybe another day. Today, I did want to talk about that topic, capital gains, right? Because people are asking, is it going to affect them? Because it's definitely not going to affect everybody, okay?
Yeah.
And we kind of shared a little bit about why, because home prices haven't increased that much within the last year. And so can you share about this, about the
capital gains
topic, Lisa? Because you're the one that mentioned it. You know, it's
Yeah,
about
it's
Trump's
interesting.
plan to eliminate capital gains.
Do you want to share that article, Tia?
Yeah, let me look it up real quick. So all right, this is the article. Trump floats No tax on capital gains for home sales. Here's who could benefit. Key points. Donald Trump on Tuesday said the admin is considering ending capital gain tax on home sales. Under current law, home sellers can face capital gains taxes once profits exceed $250,000 for singles and $500,000 for married couples. Okay. Since 97, those thresholds have never been indexed for inflation, and more home sellers are subject to capital gains as property values do rise. Let's talk about capital gains. Can you share what capital gains is, Lisa?
Okay, so capital gains on the real estate side anyway, okay? It's exactly what it states. If you are a single person, if you earn more than if you make more than $250,000 off your property, so say for instance, okay, if somebody bought their home for $500,000, they sell it for $800,000, so now there's $300,000 that they profit, right? They will get taxed on the $50,000 because you don't get taxed up to $250,000. You'll get taxed on that $50,000. So it's a smaller amount. Here's where it makes a little bit more of a difference. If you're from the Bay Area, it's very common for people to have over $500,000. It's very common for people to have more than $1 million of equity in their home. So they've been sitting there, and people, the market in San Jose has definitely been very, very, very tough. Still, there's still lots of people still buying in the $2-3 million range, easy. Okay, so here's where it's going to make a huge difference, in my opinion, because we have a lot of retirees sitting on so much equity that they want to downsize, and they feel like they're kind of stuck. They're stuck because, okay, I can't handle this big house. I'm on a fixed income, but if I transition to another house, not only am I paying for a higher property tax because the home that I'm going to purchase, even though it's smaller, the amount is so much higher. Now, if they could take that $1 to $3 million that they're earning from their house right now, it makes a lot of sense for them to just buy another house outright, a smaller one, where they're a lot more comfortable. And this is where the market is going to be, I wouldn't say flooded just yet. I think people are just going to absorb that. And I was like, okay, let's capitalize on this since we're not going to get capital gains. And here's where it's going to affect us, because real estate is a trickle effect, right? When people have a strain in higher priced areas, they go to the surrounding areas. So in the Bay Area, it trickles down to the Sacramento area. In Sacramento, it kind of trickles down to Redding. It trickles to Plymouth Lake. It trickles to Fresno. It trickles to Merced, things like that, right? So when people are able to sell, okay, if they are able to sell, they're going to buy in areas that they feel like, okay, I can buy my houses for cash. So even though this is going to open more inventory, it might actually cause that situation where people are like, well, it's going to cause a lot of inventory in the high price areas, because what happens to the neighboring neighborhoods? It's going to be competitive again, because now everybody wants to buy the smaller homes so that they can transition to.
Right. So like what Lisa mentioned earlier, not everybody is going to see this affect them or benefit them in any way, especially if you just bought your home recently and from the market data that I showed you guys earlier, your home value went up 1%, right? You're not gonna see much. And I don't know if you shared this, I didn't hear you say it, but then you can't really start paying attention to the capital gains until you lived in it over 2 years or something like that, right?
Not necessarily, because if it's an investment property, there is no 2-year rule, right? Okay. So, I mean, it is very rare in our area now for you to gain $250,000 in equity in less than 2 years anyway, or in less than 5 years.
Unless you're a flipper, right? And you bought the home and then you flipped it, right?
Correct.
So homeowners, you probably won't even have to worry about this unless you're planning on selling your home within that short amount of time. But you're not gonna really see that much equity either, unless you're in this big town, like what Lisa was mentioning about the prices. Like in the Bay Area, it's very common that they see these price capital gain gaps because the prices over there are crazy higher than what we see here in Sacramento.
So here's yes or no too, right? Yes and no. Just simply because, again, if Bay Area is going to start trickling down to our area, right, which means our inventory, whatever limit amount that we have, is going to be bought out, right? It's going to be bought out, which creates that frenzy still, right? It's going to create that frenzy still. They're still going to buy. It's still going to go up. But sellers right now, you're going to compete with other sellers, like Chia was mentioning, okay? But on the other hand, it's just like you're just going to have to understand that the market is already changing. It's already changing. And because you're competing with that, you want to get in the forefront. Even if you don't have that 250 equity or that $500,000 equity, if you are married, you are still competing. So it is affecting you indirectly, even if you haven't earned as much equity.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right?
And I think, just from looking at all the data that we've been kind of showing to the Chichi fans the past couple of years,
Yeah.
I think a lot of homeowners, even within the past 5 years, would not probably benefit from this or see any capital gains tax. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't see it in the last 5 years for us, but we've seen weirder things.
True.
I think what's going to really affect it too, Chia, is because if you have older homes, especially homes that are older than 30 years, which typically in the lifespan of a home, that's honestly not that old. But the issues with insurance is going to also put a wrench in this selling market too.
Yep.
Mhm.
That is a huge thing right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people buy homes, they just bought a home, and all of a sudden their insurance company, who just approved them prior to buying the home, is saying, hey, you either need to do X, Y, and Z to fix up the house because we just did a drone footage and your house has certain situations. And, the last one that we were doing together, because the lot was so big, right? What ended up happening to make it so hard to find an insurance company, they wanted all debris because there was so much acreage, there was just so much land, there was just so much grass that they wanted all the debris to be removed from all the pictures before they were willing to even give an insurance quote. And I think that's where, even though there might be a lot of sellers and a lot of people who want to buy, that insurance situation is going to put a wrench in the plan for both seller and buyer. And it's like, okay, and here's where it's going to be tough, because when people have a hurdle, they have a tendency to blame somebody, right? So buyers going to blame sellers going to blame buyers, but in this situation, it's really nobody's fault. The insurance is not willing to insure, and because of all that's going on in California, it makes it really, really difficult for homeowners to really say, okay, I really love this house, but if I can't get insurance, how does this even work? And that's where that market's going to that's going to put a halt on the market.
Yeah, it's such a sham right now, insurance in California. I think it's so stupid. Maybe we're gonna need like another insurance expert to come on the show one of these days and talk more about it,
Great.
But I was kind of doing some research, and they're saying that right now who's gonna be paying capital gains tax in Sacramento are homeowners from 2013 to 2015. And
Possibly,
majority of those owners are in Natomas, Elk Grove, Roseville, and Curtis Park.
So, I mean, if you know your numbers right, Chia, I can see that, right? Because I can see that.
It's
But
pretty
here's the
big.
thing, like I did very basic math earlier. So let's just say, for instance, okay, let's go back to that. If you bought your house for 500,000 and you're able to sell it for 800,000, and you're a single person, which means you have $50,000 in capital gain. Keep in mind, you can deduct everything that you put into the house as well. Okay, so if the cost of paying your agent, if the cost of staging, if the cost of renovating your house at some point, make sure you keep good accounting records to show that you can deduct all of that. So you might not actually have to pay anything on that. And even if you did, remember, it's capital gains based on your tax bracket, based on that difference from 250 to whatever it was that you had. A lot of times people are under this impression. It's like, I'm going to get taxed on $500,000. I'm going to get taxed on $250,000. No, not the full amount.
Yeah. There's a certain bracket that they tax. Talk to your CPA about it.
Correct.
Let's talk about the impacts, because I think if this,
Takes place.
if this takes place,
Yeah.
like the impact, what it's gonna do to the market, right? Because that's really the number one question a lot of people are asking right now. And the number one thing I think it's gonna impact is it's gonna create way more listings.
Yes.
Because now there's a lot of benefits, right? There's no tax on capital gains. All those investors or homeowners that is sitting on a pot of equity right now, they're not going to have to pay tax on that. They could pocket more of it. It's going to want to incentivize them now to want to put their home on the market more, meaning more inventory. And what does more inventory mean? Prices eventually are going to come down, right? It's going to come down because now buyers are going to have way more options to choose from. Right,
That is
like what the data I was showing you guys earlier. As prices goes down, it's because inventory is going up. If there's less inventory, prices are gonna go up because there's more buyers in inventory, right?
Right. And buyers are really wary right now. Everybody is trying to be cost conscious, not just with the housing market, but just everything, right? With our economic state, we are, and everything that's going on in the last few years, but especially with during this the last 2 years with the new change in leadership, it has definitely stirred a lot of different things happening in our market. Consumer goods have absolutely risen. Cost of living definitely rose, and people are a little bit scared with their jobs, with AI taking those jobs.
Yep. Everything is up in the air right now.
Yeah.
It's so uncertain everywhere.
Yeah.
So the people that are gonna go ahead, Charles.
What is this going to look like for the economy as well? Because obviously all these taxes are going into the economy. So if that's going to be, removed, then where are those tax funds? Where is that replacement tax fund going to go?
You already know, man. They're gonna just relocate these taxes that they lost from capital gains and move into somewhere else. You already know the game, man.
Of course.
Yeah. So more
I don't
things
know.
may be more expensive, right? More things can be more expensive. And we've been talking about this for quite some time too. It's like, hey, we give so much to for buyers. We give so much incentives for buyers to buy, but we don't give incentives for sellers to sell. So finally we get what we were hoping and asking for.
Yeah.
But is the timing a little bit off? Yeah, the timing is a little bit off. Because exactly what you said, Chia, if our inventory gets flooded and whatnot, the home prices are going to go down. So sellers are either going to lose money on capital gain, or they're going to lose money on inventory being so saturated that they have to lower their pricing, right? So a lot of times when people are trying to invest, right, everybody wants to have the very pinnacle point, especially in the stock market, the real estate market. It's like, I bought it at the very lowest. I feel good and everything, right? And I want to buy it sell it at the very highest. Everybody wants that. That's ideal. But could you settle with, the needle being a little bit lower, because that's where most people will win and not feel like the pain of losing even more.
I think the only way to really trigger, like, for it to be balanced, right? Let's say this hits off and now there's a bunch of inventory. In order for it to be a win-win situation, they're gonna probably have to reduce the rates.
Yeah. So
because then that's gonna bring more buyers into the market again, right? Because right now, like what you were saying earlier, buyers are up against every obstacle right now. Insurance, taxes going up every year. The interest rate not being favorable for them because then they're used to 3%, 2%, right? And now if the rates go down to a point to where now the insurance, property taxes, and all that is edible now, right? Feasible now, and it makes more sense now because it's offsetting that cost, then I think it'll bring more buyers back into the market.
I mean, if it was two at the same time, okay, Tia, then that would actually be a very, very fair market, really, right? Because now there's more inventory, and there's more incentive for people to buy, so it'll catch up. It'll be like this, right? It'll be stable, and I agree with that. Will it be that way? I don't think so, because if, like you said, If our nation is not earning that money from capital gain, where are they getting it from? The interest rate.
Maybe all these tariffs.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I don't know.
So time will only
Something's
see.
gotta give.
Yeah,
Something's
exactly.
something's got to
100%.
something's got to give, but it's almost like the right hand doesn't speak to the left hand kind of thing, right? If they saw it that way and they just moved everything at the same pace, because one movement affects everything here, but if it takes some time for this movement over here to catch up with this, now we're going to continue to have that give or take. Where do we jump in? Where do we come out? And it leaves the consumers very confused.
Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. Now, for the people that are homeowners or sellers, right? Which state is gonna benefit, right? Because I got people asking me that too. I think Florida, New York, and California.
Yeah,
High
absolutely.
five.
Because maybe Texas, but for sure California, because they got the Bay Area, they got Silicon Valley and all that, and the prices just have a lot of capital gains and all that. Florida for
SoCal too.
sure, and
Yeah.
New York, for sure 3 of those, maybe Texas in between.
I think Texas is in there too, because Texas home
Yeah.
prices are pretty high.
Yeah.
My office headquarters is actually in Dallas, and I have family in Texas as well. So the home prices are not that different from where we're here in California in certain areas.
Yeah. So let's kind of do like a closing. I know this one's gonna be short because it's Saturday and everybody's trying to get on with their busy lives. We just really wanted to come back on the camera and say hi to all the Cheat Sheet fans, right? And go over this topic. But to the people that won't benefit, it's really recent home buyers, like within the last couple years. First time home buyers, recent buyers, low price areas that's outside of like Natomas, Roseville, Curtis Park, and all of that. So those are the people that might not see any benefit from this new change that's coming, just because they don't have enough equity yet. And of course, obviously, renters. If you're a renter, you're not going to even see none of these benefits because it only applies to homeowners, right? But I think the bigger picture for this, if it does get put into effect, is it will encourage a lot of like long-time homeowners to want to sell. It's going to encourage them because now there's more incentives, right? There's more incentive. They're going to want to sell now. It's going to give way more inventory to where now it's going to be a balanced market, because we've been in the seller's market for a long time. A lot of buyers, still tell me they're waiting for the market to crash. It's probably not going to crash. It's just going to be like more of a stable to a buyer's market. So that's what's going to happen. And I think this can somewhat create like affordability for people, only to those that it's going to benefit, of course, that people that's sitting on a lot of equity. That's really what's going to create affordability for them, because now they get to keep more of that equity in their pocket. Now they could probably use that cash to just go and pay off a house on their own and not have to worry about a mortgage now, because they just pay their utilities and tax. Because most of these people that's sitting on a lot of equity, they're downsizing.
Yeah.
All they got an empty nest now, and it's just the couple now, and they don't need anything crazy. Maybe like a condo that's under $200,000, and if they net this much and they're able to keep all of these capital gains, that's enough to cash out a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially the people that are living in the same area and they want to buy in the same area, they know they're going to lose a bunch of money, but they can't even afford in the areas that they're in. So it's like they have to downsize. They have to go somewhere that's lower. They have to relocate. Now this may allow them to stay in the same place and still be able to afford where they live, so especially those people that have been there for 20 years, so.
Yep. So another thing too that kind of plays hand in hand with this is some investors right now they don't really care about capital gains tax, because a lot of times these savvy investors are using what's called a 1031 exchange, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
And I had somebody reach out to me the other day about 1031 exchange. They wanted to do a 1031 exchange on their rental to buy a home where they could move into. You can't do that. It needs to be another rental, right? It needs to be another investment property, correct, Lisa? If you want to defer that tax for capital gains in a 1031.
I believe that if you were going to do several and move back to primary, I have to ask my CPA about that because it's been a while since I've had to do a 1031 exchange, but I think it is possible, Chia, if it's your last
time. So the rental to defer that tax to upgrade to a primary?
If they sell it straight as a rental to a primary, I think there is a way to do it, but I can't remember off the top of my head how to do it. Let me research it, and maybe we can revisit it to the next show.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like
go ahead.
I was going to say, wasn't it about 6 months ago that we were talking about a situation? I know Lisa brought it up, and she was saying that she had a client that I think they were going through just a change, a life change. And I think I remember her saying something about, I think the husband wanted to buy the wife out or vice versa. And she couldn't do something because of that, the capital gains, because of what the amount of money that would be left after. I think you mentioned something about that before. Was that?
So thanks for bringing that one up. This will actually very, very much help that. It was more of a situation where because the couple is separating, they're getting a divorce, and the capital gains was so much for both of them that when they walk away, they wouldn't be walking away with much. So they're in Silicon Valley, which means if they walked away, okay, and they're getting capital gain tax on $3 million, which seems like a lot of money between the both of them, okay, but they're each going to be taxed on $1.5 million. And in the Bay Area, okay, when you tax that much, in their tax bracket, it's over 30%, they get $1 million. They still can't buy a regular house, because the average house that's 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in San Jose is already at 1.35. So they're, so that's what
that was
tricky. Will this help?
I remember that. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's going to help. So in these situations, it's going to help too. It's going to help people, have a more amicable separation. And that's an excellent point, because I know quite a few couples that chose not to sell, and even though they're legally divorced, they still live in the same household because they can't afford to move. So that's going to open a lot of the inventory for that too.
All right, so key takeaways, okay? Trump plans no more taxes on capital gains, all right? Sacramento might be in one of those places where, a lot of homeowners could gain a lot of big advantages because they're sitting on a lot of equity, but this is going to change a lot of strategies for home sellers now, though, because now more sellers are going to want to put their home on the market to take advantage of this, right? So if this bill does pass, then I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the market's going to shift, what they're going to do regarding mortgage rates, what they're going to do just in general about the whole market, because there's so many people sitting on the sidelines right now, like what Lisa and Charles was mentioning earlier. And I think that's going to create a lot of like buzz. It's going to create this synergy to where everybody's going to kind of want to be a part of this before like it washes out and it starts getting more like complicated, I would say, right? Because whenever something big like this change comes into the market, everybody wants to be a part of it, but then eventually it starts dying down, it becomes normal again, then you start really seeing what the market is really should be like, but in the beginning of this taking effect, if it does pass, it's gonna probably create like a big shift in the market.
Yeah. And as we mentioned before, if they took a look at the whole entire picture and exactly what Chia said, we lowered interest rate and we open inventory, then it's going to be a good part for both parties. But if it's only one or the other, we've already seen it from the buyer side, okay, and the cost of homes continue to rise, which makes it even more difficult for buyers. But if they did both at the same time, then the market wouldn't go up as high. Sellers would still benefit from not having to pay capital gain, and the buyers could actually afford it because now the interest rate is well enough so that the average consumer could buy. That would be a great situation.
Yep, that would be huge.
Yeah. So who knows? Let's hope so. Okay, right?
Yeah, I'm being optimistic. I think eventually everything will kind of work out. And if it doesn't, we'll get through it. Buyers will just have to kind of, the people that are sticking on the sidelines for a market crash to happen eventually. They're gonna probably just have to give in and say, oh, you know what, I don't want to wait anymore, I'm just gonna eventually buy. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what's gonna happen within the next couple of years of this policy. Did we forget anything else, Charles? Anything with the home inspection industry, man? Any updates you want to update us on?
Yeah, I mean, there really hasn't been much of a change other than what we kind of talked about. I mean, things are kind of leveling out as far as inspections go, as far as like, busyness and people selling homes. What I've noticed too is just like you said, there's a lot more situations where, buyers are having to negotiate a lot harder. Sellers aren't necessarily doing some of the repairs. They're saying, well, I've already, reduced my price because they've been, maybe properly, mismanaged in the first place until their price was too high. And so they're thinking, okay, well, I already lowered my price, so I don't want to have to keep lowering it, or I don't want to have to do any of your repairs. So, I mean, that's really one of the things that I've been seeing a lot. Homes that are a lot more expensive are taking a lot longer to sell. Again, because of the interest rates and some of these other things, these prices being so high, it makes it a lot harder for, people in a lower, price range to afford anything. And then they end up buying something that's not really in the best condition and they have to settle. But if it gets you into a home, sometimes that's a good situation. But I think some of these people are getting very overwhelmed and then finding out that they have to do a lot more repairs than they thought that they might. And then it's just causing, a little bit more, upset and, kind of a bad taste in your mouth with some of the transactions because, again, you got realtors that want to make money. They want to, continue to do what they do. And so then, some of them might be getting transactions going that shouldn't be going and maybe not giving their buyers the proper information. So again, that's where these inspections come in good. And that's when having the right realtor comes in to be a good situation. You don't want to get misled by the wrong person that's just saying, hey, just get in here because I want to sell this house. You want to get the listing, you want to get the purchase. Really understand what you're getting into and know that there's going to be costs. I really try my best to explain these things, but sometimes it just, people just they're got those rose-colored glasses on them. They really want a house, and it just kind of is what it is. But that's what I've really noticed is a lot more houses with a lot more repairs that are needed, and people settling basically to buy those so that they can get a home.
Well, Charles, if I can give a quick shout out to Charles. Charles actually helped us do an inspection for our property, and he helped really, truly outline everything for our client, and he helps us save the deal. So shout out to you, Charles. Thank you so much for being so thorough in your reports. It was super duper helpful.
Absolutely. It's important. It's so important, and I appreciate that, definitely.
One of the comments that a client told me recently, Charles, about you was they didn't expect you to be so tall. And then sometimes whenever I schedule like an inspection with you, I'll kind of hint to the clients, he's like a big teddy bear, okay? Just FYI, okay? Because he's big, in a good way, and then he also has a heart of a teacher, so like he's super soft. So don't be intimidated by his size. And then when they see
Charles
you,
is what
they're
we
like,
call the mental giant.
yeah, man, we appreciate you, dude, for everything that you do. You and Leo, man. The other day he came over to my house, spray my house and do all that. But yep, pests. So I'm glad you guys are, always out there educating homeowners.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like the more that we can do that, as a team, the more, especially this, I love this platform, Chia, just because we were able to do this. The more that we're able to educate homeowners, buyers, sellers, just people that are renting and deciding what to do, it's
Yeah.
great. I really love this platform, and I'm glad that we're able to do this, and really help people.
Yeah, man. For sure, dude. Everybody kind of knows you now. Whenever I mention a home inspection, they're like, "Oh, is it Charles?" So that's awesome, man. But all right, I'm gonna end it here. It's 10:30. We came in a little bit late, but then hopefully all this information can kind of educate everybody. Share this with people that that might benefit from this. If you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, share this to them, because definitely it might affect them, and they might want to know about this and prepare for it and be proactive about it instead of just being passive about it. So that's what I would say. And that's it. All right. So I'm gonna let everybody go. Happy Saturday. Don't party too hard, everybody. We'll see you guys in the next one. Okay. Peace.
All right. Take care, everybody.